Hello and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland, with me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast. Today we're talking all about the foundational things that you need to do before you even start thinking about planning your wedding. So you might already have some ideas in your head of a horse-drawn carriage or releasing the doves or having a spectacular fireworks display. And all of those things are really cool and add some personal touches to your wedding day. But before you even get there are a few things that you need to even think about so that you can start to lay the foundations, which will help you to fill in the blanks, to add in the color, and to really turn your wedding into something that is really, really amazing and memorable for all the right reasons. So today I'm going to walk you through a list of things that you and your partner should talk about, things you guys should work out together before you start planning your wedding. And you'll start to see that some of these conversations are really practical things that will help you to create the kind of structure that's going to help you to know what type of wedding you want to have, when you want to get married, even some conversations that you guys need to have about the type of wedding that you want, the type of celebration you want to have, and, roughly when you want to get married. You might have an idea in your head, but your partner might have a different idea. So these conversations will help you guys to get onto the same page. And I promise you, wedding planning is going to be so much easier when you're on the same page. So let's get started. The very first thing that I recommend the couples do before they start planning the wedding is to actually celebrate the engagement. This is a really big milestone. Getting engaged and saying that you're going to spend the rest of your lives together is a really, really incredible milestone. And I always recommend that couples celebrate. And this could be done in any way. It could be, just the two of you having an amazing dinner together. It could be having an engagement party or anything in between. But it's really important to resist the urge to just rush into the planning and skip over what is actually quite an important step. So take a moment, commemorate the occasion, celebrate with your partner and maybe with your loved ones if that's something you want to do. But just take a moment to acknowledge the fact that you're engaged. You're getting married, you're planning a wedding, you're going to spend your lives together. And if you've never discussed marriage before, this might be the first time that you and your partner have said out loud that you're going to be together forever. So take a moment to just celebrate that. And then the wedding planning can begin. Next, once you've celebrated your engagement, you've acknowledged that you are getting married, there are a few things that I recommend that you and your partner discuss together. So these are the three things that I think will really help you. It's a crucial step in, communication and just making sure that you and your partner are on the same page. And for many people, this might be the first time that you're sitting down and having some really, really important conversations. And these are important conversations specifically about the wedding, but they can really shape how you learn to communicate with each other, which is a skill that you can take into your marriage as well. So the first thing is a serious one, and that's to discuss your religious beliefs. Now, we're not talking about this in the context of marriage, although I do recommend that couples have that conversation before getting married because it's a big deal. But this is really in the context of your wedding celebration. So do you want to have a religious wedding ceremony? Or do you want to do something else? Have you always dreamed of getting married in a church because it's a sacred place for you? Maybe it's a place that brings peace and serenity. Maybe you grew up in the church. Maybe you are a practicing Christian and maybe you want to get married in a church. Have that conversation with your partner about if that's something that is meaningful to you. Other couples would rather get married outdoors in the countryside, whether they're religious or not. But really discuss the different options with your partner. Make an agreement, and that will really shape the kind of ceremony that you have, and therefore the legal requirements that are associated with the type of ceremony that you would like to have. Second conversation to have with your partner is the vision for your wedding. So when you picture getting married, what are the things that come to mind? Begin with that picture and then build your day accordingly. So discuss with your partner what each of you envision when you think about a wedding, and create your plan around the things that you guys envision. And even better if you envision similar things, but if not, find ways to bring your two visions together. And the third thing, which is quite similar, but that's to talk about the things that are most important to you. There's so many things you could do at a wedding. Many, many, many things you could do. And it can get really overwhelming when there are hundreds and hundreds of different options available, different meal planning styles, different types of venues, different ways of entertaining your guests, so many things. I always recommend that if you start by identifying what's important to you, then as the wedding planning goes on and as all the details come together, you can keep your focus on what is most important. So here are some examples of what I'm kind of talking about. Do you want to have a big wedding with everybody you know and love? Do you want to fill the dance floor and party with the best band in town? Do you want to have your dogs at your wedding? Do you want to have something that's a bit more of an intimate celebration with, one banquet style table and all your guests seated together at one table? Think about the things like that, which are important to you, and those things are going to help to shape the day that you plan. And as other ideas come into the mix and as you see different types of inspiration, you'll be able to kind of bring everything back to that most important thing. Okay, next thing. It is a conversation that you need to have, and that is all about money. So before you book anyone, you need to know how much money you have to spend on your wedding. So I recommend sitting down with anybody who's going to contribute towards the wedding. Now that could be just you and your partner. Maybe you've already got a savings account with everything that you know you're going to spend. Maybe you plan to take out a loan, whatever it is. It might be that you're including your parents. Traditionally parents do pay. I know that modern couples often pay for most or all of the wedding. Sometimes it's other close family members or people who are family by choice. Whoever it is that's contributing towards the wedding, have an open conversation with them about what the budget will be. And then once you know what your overall budget is, you can then start apportioning the budget to different things. So if you want to know more about what other couples have spent on their weddings, just so you can give yourself an idea of the kind of breakdown of what different items cost. Every year at Weddings Online, we do a survey where we survey hundreds of couples. And we asked them questions about the time of year that they got married, what they spent on the whole wedding, what they spent on the honeymoon, what they spent on the individual items. And we collate all that information and we present the findings of the survey. So in January 2025, we shared the results of that survey. And so if you want to find out more, you can go to weddingsonline.ie. And in the blog section, every podcast episode has a written excerpt. And so if you have a look at the one for this episode, which is number 141, I'll have a link in there to the latest survey. And just a reminder that when it comes to creating your budget, if you're using the survey as a guide, it really is a guide. And all the prices that we will share are averages. So if somebody in the survey has said that flowers are incredibly important to them, they will have spent more than the average couple. And if somebody in the survey didn't value flowers, maybe they just had bouquets, then for them, flowers would be much lower. And so you need to consider your own priorities when looking at average costs, just so you can make sure that you're not applying an average cost to an item of your wedding that's actually incredibly important and therefore requires more money. I hope that helps. But talking about money is really important, because if you don't know how much you can spend, it's really hard to then find a venue, find your suppliers, because you don't know what you can spend on them. Okay, next, before you can start planning, you're going to need to choose your wedding date. So when do you want to get married? And here are a few things that are going to help you to determine when you can get married. First up, talking about money again, but your finances. And this really what comes into play here is if you feel like you need to spend more time saving up before you can actually begin to set a date. And that's totally fine. Many couples have longer engagements for this very reason, because the day is important to them and they want to spend some time saving up and being ready to then plan the wedding of their dreams. And if that's you, great. Another thing is some couples would like to plan an off-peak wedding. So peak is the summertime and any Saturday. Off-peak is the winter dates or midweek wedding days. Those days are becoming more popular, but they're still considered off-peak and therefore are cheaper. So if you're looking to save a little bit of money, then an off-peak wedding date might be the best option for you. So keep that in mind when you choose your date. Another thing to keep in mind is the actual season. You might have always had your heart set on a warm summer wedding. So then, of course, you want to narrow down your dates to a summer wedding date. Maybe you've always wanted to get married on the same day that your parents got married, and then you pick a wedding venue that's available on that specific date, and you pick the year that fits. There's so many options to go about doing it. Another thing might be your job and any work commitments that you have. Now, I know there are some professions where you have to take off time at really specific times of the year. Like teachers. They can't just take annual leave whenever they want to, but there are school holidays which help to dictate when they can take time off. If you have a job like that, consider when you can take off time and use that to help you choose your wedding date. And remember, you don't want to get married on the first available day that you can take off. Give yourself a little bit of time to lead into the wedding, a little bit of time after the wedding, whether you're going on honeymoon or just needing a little bit of a break from all the partying. Just keep that in mind. And then one final thing when it comes to choosing your wedding dates is your guest commitments. Now, of course, I don't recommend that you plan your big day around all of your guests, but there will be a few VIPs who you can plan around. For example, you might not want to get married on your sister's, due date for her baby. That kind of thing. Or your best friend's 30th birthday. Just plan around the key people, find out if there are any other weddings taking place, and see how you can plan your own special day without encroaching on other celebrations that might be important to you and to those that you love. So again, we're not suggesting that you plan your whole wedding around everybody, but think about the ones that are closest to you and see what you need to work around. I know for my wedding, we didn't have to work around anything, really. We just picked our date. We told our family members and they were like, yeah, good. And it ended up being my husband's uncle's birthday. But that wasn't a problem. He didn't make a fuss about it. And it helps me to remember his birthday now because I know it's on our wedding anniversary. But just have a think about if your wedding date that you're proposing might have an impact on somebody who's very, very close to you, and plan accordingly. Okay, a couple more things that you should do before you start planning anything. And the next one, after you've got your date, is to choose your location. Now, I know that there's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, and we've spoken about this on the podcast before. And the scenario is this. Do you choose your wedding date and then you find a venue that is available on your date? Or do you choose your venue and you see when they're available and you select your wedding date based on their availability? Now, there really is no wrong way to do it. It really just depends on you and which thing is more important to you, the date or the season or the location. But when it comes to choosing a location, you could literally get married anywhere in the world. The world is your oyster. Now, I know I'm a little bit biased, but I reckon Ireland is a pretty incredible place to get married, and so I will always advocate for that. But take some time to consider where you want to get married. If you want to get married close to home, if you want to get married a little bit further away, or even further away and have a destination wedding. But before you can plan anything, you need to know where you want to get married. And we've got 2 more items. Before you can plan your wedding, you want to have a think about your guests. Now, I don't recommend creating your, fully comprehensive guest list before planning anything, but I do recommend having a rough idea of how many people you want to invite. Now, of course, the amount of people that you invite will be determined by your budget and the type of venue that you pick. But for some people, the guest list is more important than the venue. So I'll tell you what I did. My now husband and I, when we were planning our wedding, we made a rough guest list. And that rough guest list gave us an idea of roughly how many people we would like to have at our wedding. So when we were looking for wedding venues, we only looked at the ones that could accommodate that number of people. There may be other people whose priority is actually the venue. And so once you find your dream venue, you'll then build your guest list around how many people the venue can accommodate. Again, there's no wrong way to do it. It depends on your priorities. But having a bit of an idea of how many guests you would like to have at your wedding is going to be quite helpful. It also helps you to pull together a budget, knowing how many people you're going to have roughly when you want to get married and kind of where the location is going to be. And the final thing, before you start planning your wedding, it's always good to get a little bit of inspiration. So on the Weddings Online blog, we have so many posts. Every day we post different blog posts with inspiration, wedding planning, tips and tricks. We have real wedding features that come out every week with real life couples and their actual weddings. Many of them are in Ireland. We've also got lots of destination weddings as well. And you'll just find loads of inspiration of what couples have done, and hopefully that will spark something in your mind and it will help you to plan your wedding, knowing what other couples have done, just to get some fun ideas. So a quick recap. Before you plan anything, celebrate your engagement. It's a big milestone. Have some important discussions with your partner. We're talking religious beliefs to really shape your wedding ceremony. We're talking about your wedding vision and what you're picturing, as well as the things that are most important to you. Then start talking about money and build your wedding budget. Pick a date. Choose your location. Have a think about how many guests you'd like to have at your wedding, and then start gathering ideas and getting inspiration. Well, thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered, and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists, and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.